Shalom, loved ones. When we come to the end of our life, we all hope to be able to say that it meant something. I mean, it's natural. No one wants to say it was all for nothing. Life, we know, is supposed to have purpose and meaning. When we reflect on the significance of our life, we want to be able to say we left even the little part of the world that we had a part in a little bit better. In John 15, Jesus offers to us the image of a life that is fruitful and abundant. Those are the words that he uses. But what does this mean? What does a life that is fruitful look like? The movers and shakers of our society seem to say that the life worth living is a life of wealth, power, and renown. Still others say the good life consists primarily of security. We think someone has lived well if they graduate from a nice college and marry a nice person. Together they have some nice kids and get some nice jobs so that they can own a nice home in a nice neighborhood and drive a nice car. But all of these visions of the good life are just illusions. Eventually those who are rich, powerful, and popular will come to see that all their money, privilege, and prestige is just empty and meaningless. The fruitful life is not found by clawing one's way to the top 1% of our culture's cultural ladder. And in our PlayWell community, our little bag of ragamuffins knows another secret too about the sham of equating the fruitful life with mere stability and security. That is an illusion too. Marriage is messy, and it doesn't always work out. Kids can't be controlled, and the unpredictability of parenting upsets our desire for order. Work is not always life-giving. Cars break down, and homeowning is not the dream we imagined it to be. Sometimes homeowning isn't even within reach. The good news is, if we take the time to look reality square in the eye and listen to what God has to say about this, we can hear the voice of love saying, you don't have to graduate from the perfect school, have the perfect marriage, raise the perfect kids, hold the perfect job, drive the perfect car, and own the perfect house to be happy and have a life of deep meaning, purpose, and significance. Your value lies simply in the reality that I love you. You are my beloved. And nothing can change that. No life circumstance can change that. Indeed, this is why I brought you into the world, so that I could lavish my love on you. I wanted my heart set loose in space and time, and that is what I did when you came into being. Your life means something because I made it to mean something. just by you being you. Don't you see how significant that is? I wanted you to be. So you are free just to be you. It's enough. Now the hard part, we know, is taking that message deep into our hearts and living by it. That is the challenge of a lifetime. Our culture tells us this is hard. Our culture tells us because it must be too good to be true. It's too easy. There must be something that we have to do to prove ourselves worthy of this love. But Jesus says in John 15 that all we need to do is remain in his love. And that's the word that he uses over and over again in this text. Remain. And that's all we need to do. It's like a branch on a vine, he says. If the branch wants to bear fruit, all it needs to do is remain attached to the vine. That's all. It doesn't need to worry if its life will bear fruit. The fruit will come as a matter of course and in its own good time and in its own good way. The branch doesn't worry, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? I need to get organized and maybe I need to network more and get more schooling. What am I missing, Lord? Do I need to read my Bible more and pray a certain way more? Or do I need to go to church more or volunteer for something? Just tell me what I need to do to get ahead. I'll do it, I promise. Just tell me already. But Jesus repeats what he has already told us. Hello, branch. Just remain in me, and you will bear fruit. I'm the vine, remember? I won't let you go. So just breathe. I've got you. Just let me hold you. I'm holding you. I've got you. I love you. And this settles us for a while until we start to worry about the pruning. Dun, dun, dun. Didn't Jesus say something about pruning and throwing things into the fire in this text? Well, yes, he did. But remember, it's only what he knows we don't need anyway. And besides, the pruning is not something that the branch is in charge of anyway. The pruning is the work of the gardener, he says. This is important for us to notice because we can be prone to look at all the things that we hate about ourselves and think, I've got to get rid of that. Ugh, how ugly. But it's not your job as the branch to decide what stays and what goes and when and how it's supposed to happen. The gardener knows what to do and when to do it and how to do it. And the gardener also knows why to do it too. The gardener is doing it to shape you, to make your life beautiful and fruitful. See, the gardener is for you, not against you, when the gardener does this. This is why, as the gardener is doing this pruning work that sometimes hurts, I also like to imagine the gardener is singing over you to remind you that this difficult work is a good and beautiful work. And the gardener sings in hopes of calming your heart so that you, as the branch, will just let the gardener be the gardener, so you will be free to be the branch. See, it's important for us to remember just who is who in this story called life. You are not the gardener. Only the gardener can be the gardener. Now, this is also important because sometimes there are parts of other branches on this vine that look at you. Sometimes you might feel, and they say, "Ugh, you need to cut that part off." And the part of that other branch that says such a thing is, guess what? Guess what? A part that probably needs to be cut off. See, no branch has any business telling another branch what needs to go and what the gardener wants to keep. That's only for the gardener alone to say. I mean, even Jesus the vine doesn't tell the gardener what to do. Notice that in this text. And then we have some other branches that get so big, they start to say, "Hey, branches, look at me. I'm a big deal. I must be doing something right because look at how big I am. I'm the biggest branch there is. My fruit feeds thousands of people every Sunday, and I make millions of dollars, and I even have my own film and record production studios inside, and I've grown a coffee shop and a gift store, and we publish bestsellers." Sadly, sometimes the big branches start to think of themselves either as the vine or sometimes even the gardener, as if the gardener couldn't do what the gardener does without them. Well, I've got news. The gardener can do what the gardener does without them. And when the big branches start to confuse their role in the grand scheme of things, the gardener sees that the whole branch has really become diseased with the sickness of self. And all that can be done in time is to take a chainsaw to the whole branch and sell it off as firewood. Now that might sound cruel, but the gardener can tell when a branch is diseased on the inside, even though it might not seem like it on the outside. Besides, the gardener wants to prevent this disease from spreading to the other branches, so the only thing the gardener can do is cut it off. And we've seen, haven't we, in recent years, some of those big branches and the disease that's made apparent after time, and how it needs to be pruned. It's sad when it happens, but it ends up being good and necessary work for the whole vine and all of the other branches. You see, the vine flourishes when branches just honor the ethos that the gardener is cultivating. It's an ethos that says branches just be branches. Remember, you are not the vine, and you are certainly not the gardener. Stop thinking that you need to prune each other. Let me do that. In fact, I don't even want you to think you need to prune yourself. Let me do that in my own way and in my own time. And stop trying to genetically engineer your fruit to make it bigger and better and juicier than it needs to be. That's not what I want. I'm an organic farmer, not a corporate vampire bent on worldly success. And anyway, what does it profit you if you gain the whole world but lose your soul? The fruit of my Spirit consists of simple things like love, joy, and peace. Patience, kindness, and goodness. Faithfulness, gentleness, and that word self-control that we're so familiar with in Galatians 5 could be translated as a wellness that permeates you through and through. That's my fruit. Faithfulness, gentleness, and a wellness that permeates you through and through. This is the fruit I want to grow in you and through you. You don't need to be what everyone else says you need to be. You don't need to be bigger than you are. You are good enough just how I have made you to be. Just live your life, not someone else's. Just be you. And so, dearly beloved, always remember that the gardener has made and is continuing to make you good and beautiful and fruitful. You just trust that and remain in the love of that. Amen and amen.